So we are beginning a new mimer, a mimer in connection to Shavuos. Of course, the idea being that we should finish this by Shavuos. This is a mimer based on the words from Shir Hashirim, Perek Gimel, Pasuk Yud Aleph. Tzena or Bnos Tzion, go out and see daughters of Zion, the Melech Shlomo, the King Shlomo, Batara she'itra lo imo, in the crown that his mother crowned him. Now that pasuk, there's a lot of Chassidus on. It's a juicy pasuk. So this mimer, which is the first night of Shavuos, toward morning, right after the whole night of saying the Tikkun and everything, in Tafshin Chaf Zayin in 1967, this is the mimer of the Rebbe. Famous pasuk: go out and see daughters of Zion and the King Shlomo in the crown that his mother crowned him. So it says in the Midrash on Shir Hashirim, right? There's a pasuk from Shir Hashirim that Rabbi Yochanan says. Now Rabbi Yochanan is now giving over something that happened between Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. We've all heard, of course, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Meron fame, great Tana, amazing level of godly leader. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai asked Reb Elazar, the son of Reb Yossi. So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai asked Reb Elazar, the son of Reb Yossi, have you ever heard anything from your father? What does this mean, this crown that his mother crowned him? Right? So Rashbi is asking another Tana, not his own opinion, but his father, Reb Yossi. Has Reb Yossi ever taught you anything on this pasuk? So Reb Elazar said yes. He gave over now the teaching of his father, Reb Yossi, to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Do not fear, no test. You're not going to have to remember the names. So what did Reb Yossi say on this pasuk? He said it's a mashal. It's a mashal to a king. A king had an only daughter, and he loved her so much, he called her my daughter. Well, obviously, it's his only daughter. Then he loves her even more, and he calls her my sister, and he calls her my mother, right? Again, I don't know if you remember, we had this pasuk, and we had this midrash in a very different context. Our threefold relationship to Hashem. Hashem calls us his daughter, his sister, and his mother. So the neshamos, this is, of course, Hashem's only child. Hashem loves the neshamos so much, he calls the neshamos his daughter. Like a pasuk proves this, Shimi Basurei, hear my daughter and see. He loves us even more. He calls us a sister. There's a pasuk, of course, we know this pasuk actually from Shir Hashirim. Pischuli achaisi, open up for me, my sister. He loves her even more. He calls her a mother. Well, where in the world does Hashem call us as mother? Well, there's a pasuk that says, Hekshivo olai ami ulu'umi elai ha'azinu. Listen to me, my nation, ami ulu'umi, which is another way of saying my nation. To me, listen. So it says on there, li'umi. Don't read li'umi, to my nation, but li'imi, to my mother. Again, you can probably hear how similar it is if you were looking inside, a difference of nikud. Le'umi, le'imi, it's really just turning the u to an e. It's the exact same letters. So don't read le'umi, to my nation. Read le'imi, to my mother. So here we have Hashem is calling us his mother, which in the other mimer we learned, of course, was really the tremendous point of discussion. How are we, kivyachol, so to speak, the mother to Hashem? So this was the Torah that Rebbe Elazar told Rashbi in the name of his father, Reb Yossi. Rashbi got so excited. He got so excited from this that he stood up and he kissed Rebbe Elazar on his head. And he said, if I only came to hear this, it would be enough. I'd be very, very, very happy. It would be great. It was all worth it to hear this Torah. Now, the Midrash is very precise. The Midrash says he stood up. He's so excited. And he kissed Rabbi Yossi. He kissed him on his head. And he said, wow, if I only came to hear this, it would be worth it. What if we have a kiss? A kiss is showing there's so much excitement. You can't say it in words. You can't express it in words. You just have to sit out with this kiss. Like you can't articulate it. You're so excited. You don't have the words for it. You're expressing it in this kiss. So question, now we have our first question here. What was he so excited about? It's a nice parish. It's a nice midrash. It's a nice way of understanding the pasuk, right? Go out and see daughters of Tzion. That's us in our first level, a daughter. The King Shlomo with the crown that his mother, now we know the mother is The Jewish people, from daughter to sister to mother, crowned him. That's a nice Harush here on this pasuk. But he's so excited, he can't even talk, like, I just have to kiss you to express my excitement. What was he so excited? That's the first question, right? Now we understand, of course, how this fits into the pasuk, because as I said, the pasuk ends, Batara she'itra lo imo, in the crown that his mother crowned him. And now we understand that that crown that his mother crowned him, the mother, who's the mother of the king Shlomo? Well, the king Shlomo represents Hashem, the ultimate king, and the mother represents the Jewish people, that the Jewish people on our highest level are called the mother, so to speak, to Hashem. And we, the Jewish people, are crowning Hashem. So that's nice. That's cool. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. Why did it make Rashbi in such a state that he just had to give a kiss to express it? We don't know. That we're not sure of. That is something we'd like to understand. What was happening here? So amazing that Rashbi was so overwhelmed. He just had to give a kiss to express how overwhelmingly excited he was. So that's the first question. To pursue this a bit more, when we're looking at this idea of the crown that the mother, the Jewish people, crowned Hashem, where do we see this concept? Well, we can connect this to another midrash on the pasuk Kedoshim Tiyu Ki Kadosh Ani, right? So we're living with the times. This is a mimer for Shavuos, so we're sort of hoping we will complete it by Shavuos. At the same time, this week in our Chitas, Achremos Kedoshim. So this is a pasuk in Kedoshim Tiyu Ki Kadosh Ani, right? You be holy because I, Hashem, am holy. Now, on that pasuk, Kedoshim Tiyu Ki Kadosh Ani, you be holy. Why? Because I, Hashem, am holy. There's a mashal there. There's a midrash there also. What's the mashal? And this mashal, by the way, also, there's a lot of Hasidus and a lot of Maimarim having to do with Parshas Kedoshim. Bring this pasuk and bring this midrash. So there's a king, and they're the people of the country. And the people of the country make 3 crowns for the king. So they give the king 3 crowns. What does a king do? What does he need 3 crowns for? It says he takes 1 for himself. He puts 1 on his own head. He's got 2 more crowns left. He puts the 2 crowns on the head of his sons. Hashem, so to speak, is being gifted with 3 crowns. 1 crown he keeps for himself, and 2 crowns he gives to the neshamos, to the Jewish people who are crowning him, right? Like we say, Batar Israelo Imo, with the crown that his mother, and we now know his mother means the neshamos, the Jewish people are crowning Hashem. So we give Hashem 3 crowns, and of those 3 crowns, he gives 1 for himself, and he gives 2 back to us. As we see, now we connect this to the Malachim crowning Hashem, that when the Malachim say, Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzvakos, those 3 words, Kadosh, 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 are like the 3 crowns. What does Kadosh mean? Kadosh means Kedusha. Kedusha means separation. Separation is like the crown, because the crown is not within the body of the person. The crown is encircling, encompassing the head. So it's higher than the head, beyond the head, above the head, outside the head. So a crown implies, kadosh, implies something separate from the body of the person. So in the Midrash, we're saying that Bnei HaMedina, the people of the country, they gave these 3 crowns. When do we give these 3 crowns? And then we got back to, well, this was before Matan Torah, right? Before Matan Torah, there was this like separation between the spiritual realms and the physical realms. So at that point, who are the Bnei HaMedina? Who are Hashem's country people? Well, it can't be us because we're in planet world. We're too physical. It's the Malachim themselves. The Malachim are up there with Hashem, so to speak, and they're saying Kadosh, 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 and they're crowning Hashem. And when they're crowning Hashem, as they're saying this Shira, this Kadosh, 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 and they're crowning Hashem, we're crowning Hashem. Because the pasuk says, Turen Bnos Tzion, b'melech Shlomo, ba'atara she'itra lo imo, with the crown that his mother crowned him. The Malachim are not called the mother of Hashem. We're called the mother of Hashem. We're the mother of Hashem, not the Malachim. So what does this mean? So it says in another midrash that the malachim cannot say shira above until the Jews say shira below. When we say shira, this allows and this precedes the shira of the malachim. So when the malachim are saying shira, which is part of their shira, of course, is this kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. Their kadosh, kadosh, kadosh is dependent on ours. When we say they can't do it until we do it, theirs has to follow ours. Ours precedes theirs. We're not per se really talking chronologically, because time is a coordinate for us. We live in a physical reality, and we have this thing called space, and we have this thing called time. But above, there's no real space or time. It's part of, creation. So when we say our shira precedes the shira of the malachim, it really means on a spiritual level, our shira is higher than the shira of the malachim. And when we say our shira to Hashem, this gives permission that the malachim can also say their shira to Hashem. So it's like cause and effect. We crown Hashem, and when we crown Hashem, so to speak, now the malachim can as well. So from our crowning Hashem, it comes down to the malachim crowning Hashem. You can say it comes down, it comes up. The malachim are up there, we're down here. That's true. What I mean comes down is we do it first, and as a Jew doing it, it's even more special, and then it trickle down in spiritual quality that the malachim can also crown Hashem. So who's crowning Hashem, us or the malachim? Well, both. We're crowning Hashem, and because we crown Hashem, the malachim crown Hashem. So when the malachim say kadosh, 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 they are truly crowning Hashem, and they are the bnei hamedina, the country people that are giving Hashem the crown. But at the same time, we're giving Hashem the crown of batar she'itra lo imo, the crown that his mother crowned him. The malachim are not the mother; only the Jewish people are the mother. So batar she'itra lo imo, we're crowning Hashem. Bnei hamedina crown Hashem. The malachim are crowning Hashem. Who's crowning Hashem? We crown Hashem by our praise to Him, which is transmitted. The malachim are like the memutza. They're like the intermediary carrying our shira to Hashem, carrying our crowns to Hashem. So we are praising and crowning Hashem with our three crowns. And the malachim transmit this as they say kadosh, 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 and give Hashem their three crowns. So Hashem, from us, via the malachim, receives this praise, this shira, these crowns. And then Hashem takes the crowns, and He's putting one on His own head, so to speak. And two, He's giving back to us. As, of course, we know the famous midrash, that it says when we said Na'aseh v'nishma, we received two crowns, one crown for Na'aseh and one crown for Nishma. Like very often, we see just very strongly, though we've, of course, just begun the mimer, this idea of like, wow, we're so special. We're the ones that really are crowning Hashem. Even when we say it's the malachim, it really, really, really goes back to Hashem's only child, to the Jewish people. So continuing in the next section of the mimer. So we want to understand these crowns. We want to understand, what does this mean that the neshamos are crowning Hashem? And then what does it mean that Hashem crowns us, right? Because on one hand, we said, Malachim can only crown Hashem because we crown Hashem, and then our power, we're the Batar She'itra Lo Imo, we crown Hashem, and this then allows the Malachim, by their saying Kadosh, 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 to transmit our crowning to their crowning, to crown Hashem. So what does it mean we crown Hashem? And at the same time, it says Hashem took these three crowns, He put one on His head, and He gave two to us. So what does it mean that Hashem's crowning us? What does it mean we crown Him? What does it mean Hashem crowns us? So understand all that. It says, in terms of Matan Torah, that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shemayim, this is also a very famous midrash. There's a very amazing sicha, talk of the Rebbe on Shavuos, based on this midrash, a fascinating, fascinating talk. But the midrash says, Moshe goes up to Shemayim, and the Malachim says, what's a human being doing here among us? What's someone born from a woman doing among us? Give your glory to the heaven. You're giving this human the Torah? Your height, your beauty, your glory, your grandeur? You're giving it to a human? Keep it for Shemayim. Hashem, give us the Torah. And then Hashem says to Moshe, no, answer them. Malachim have a taina. Their taina is, what should a human make the Torah for? Humans the Torah for. Torah is so special, Torah is so beautiful, Torah is so wonderful. Keep it among the special, beautiful, wonderful celestial beings. Don't give it down to the dirty little people on planet Earth. So the Midrash says that Moshe explained to them what is Torah, what is really the matter of the Torah. And he was explaining and explaining until they got it, until they were so affected that they gave him presents. As the pasuk says, that they gave presents to man. And even those angels that were the most opposing, as a chutzpah, such a chutzpah, something as precious as the Torah goes down to these low grub humans, also gave presents. So now, of course, we have a new question. What's going on here? What's going on with this whole concept? Actually, if we think about it, there's something else around Matan Torah that we all know, a famous midrash. But what does it mean? The Rebbe is pulling in lots and lots of very famous midrashim, all of which are either famous known or have lots and lots of chassidus on. And he's like putting them under a different light, a different scope, a different magnifying. So we don't understand, remember, we don't understand why Rashbi was so excited by what Rebbe Lazar told him in the name of his father, Rabbi Yossi. We don't get what's going on there. What was so exciting that he had to give him a kiss, right? We're not sure what was going on there. And we're not sure what's going on that we crown Hashem and what's going on that Hashem crowns us. We're not really understanding what that means either. Like we crown Hashem, what does that mean? And Hashem crowns us, what does that mean? And we don't understand what were the Malachim's taina? What are the Malachim thinking? That Torah should stay in heaven and not go down to planet Earth? If you look at the words of Torah, it's all talking about planet Earth. I mean, what does Torah and her mitzvos have to do with heaven? And yet what did Moshe do that so impressed the Malachim that they said, you're right, take it with gifts? We can raise a fourth issue, something else that we know happened around Matan Torah that also we all know it. We've known it probably since we're like 3 or 4 or 5, but what does it mean? It says that before Matan Torah, Hashem, personally, so to speak, Hashem personally, based on the pasuk, it says, he went to every nation and asked every nation if they wanted the Torah. I'm sure we all know this midrash. We probably were taught it as very young children. There's a famous Yom Tov Erlich song redone by Avram Fried of this midrash, right? Hashem goes to every nation, do you want my Torah? And of course, we all know what happens. They all basically said no. Who said yes? The Jewish people, the Midrash. But what in the world does a Midrash mean? Hashem was really thinking of giving someone else the Torah besides the Jewish people? Was that really in the cards? Hashem was really thinking that the Torah would be appropriate for someone besides the Jewish people? Hashem wanted to give the Torah to someone else besides the Jewish people? Like we know the Midrash and it's cute and it's cool. And as I said, it's a nice, beautiful song. And they all were like, what's in it? No, we don't want that. No, we don't want that. Oh, you can't steal. Forget that. You can't kill. Not for us. No adultery. We're not interested. And then of course, Hashem comes to the Jewish people and they don't ask any questions. They say, Na'aseh v'nishma. No questions. We want it. But what was Hashem thinking? What was going on? Why did Hashem have a need to present the Torah to all the nations, for them to reject it, for us to accept it? And it actually says in the Midrash, again, this is all based on Psukim. I'm not giving all the Psukim here to bring this out. It's all based on Psukim, that it says that through this, all of the money of the world was now able to be given or taken by the Jewish people. It was all free for the Jews, meaning that all possessions, qualities, special attributes, anything the Goyim have is now ours, is now shaykh to us, is now something we can have instead of them having it. That doesn't necessarily mean we have all of their issues. The Goyim could be holding on to like their land or their real estate or their gold, but on a spiritual level, it's all ours. We're just letting them, guard it for us. So this continuation of the Midrash, which isn't as well known as the first part of it, is saying that by Hashem asking every nation, something is being accomplished. He's freeing up their possessions that they become ours. Meaning when Hashem says, do you want the Torah? And they say no. And then the Jews say yes. everything that the Goyim has is now ours, is now shaykh to us. It now becomes something that we have possession over. We may not physically have possession over it, because do we really need all the world's real estate and all the world's resources? And we'll let the Goyim, be our agents. But on a spiritual level, since Matan Torah, it's all ours. So that means that Hashem asking and them saying no, and then us saying yes, somehow shifted ownership of the world. And it's sort of like, well, they should have said yes, they didn't. We said yes, so therefore they owe us, or we're their agents, so we have all their possessions. So something was going on there. But Hashem doesn't play games. If Hashem asked all the nations for the Torah, it wasn't a trick. It wasn't as we say, a patent. It wasn't a scheme, a ploy. I'm going to ask, you're going to say no. The Jews will say yes. And therefore the Jews can take or own or have ownership of everything that's yours because you didn't say yes and they did. So they get everything. Hashem's straight, Hashem's not doing tricks. So Hashem is asking the Goyim, all the nations of the world, do you want my Torah? That must mean on a certain level, there's a legitimacy to the Goyim having the Torah. So we see here two different midrashim, both very famous, both that have a lot of Chassidus on it, both of which are really saying there's some legitimacy to someone having the Torah besides us. The first midrash that the Rebbe brought, a famous midrash, there's lots of Chassidus on it, is that the Malachim are saying the Torah should stay ours. What are you giving human beings your Torah? It should stay in the heavens. And then Moshe responds and they accept and they even give him presents. But the Malachim are saying the Torah should be ours. They had a svara. They weren't being stupid, childlike. They had an intelligent reason why they felt the Torah should be theirs. And then Moshe refuted them and showed, no, it's ours. And then we see, based on this other midrash, that Hashem himself is asking every nation, do they want the Torah? Which means Hashem, who surely knows what he's doing, on some level, there's a legitimacy in the world, not the Jewish people, all the Goyim receiving the Torah. They say no, and we get it, and we even get all the Goyim's possessions on a spiritual level. We have ownership of everything that's theirs, but Hashem is being sincere. So what's the legitimacy? What's Hashem thinking that on some level it's plausible that the Torah should be the Goyim's? What are the Malachim thinking that on some level it's plausible that the Torah should be the angels?